thinking skills, classroom interaction and assessment, intercultural competence, and online resource credibility evaluation. To open this webinar, first of all, I'd like to express gratitude to the coordinator of SRS-TEFLIN, Ibu Huzaimah Dahlan Dim Iridi, who has helped to develop English education in Southern Sumatra through her dedication in SRS-TEFLIN. Another gratitude goes to Bapak Sony Mirizan EDD as the Language Education Study Program Coordinator, Master Program of Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Sriwijaya University. I would also like to thank Ibu Sari Silviani, PhD, as one of the lecturers, together with Ibu Huzaimah, in teaching the seminar on language and literature subject. Thank you, Ibu, for the knowledge and also the guidance. The same thank to Ibu Artanti Puspitasari, PhD, Ibu Novalingga Pitaloka, MPD, and Bapak Hari Utama Putra, S.Pd, for the assistant, helpful suggestion for us to run this webinar. And of course, a big thank for all the lecturers of Sriwijaya University who are participating in this webinar today. Thank you also to all the presenters for being ready to share their thought regarding critical issues in HOTS, classroom interaction assessment, intercultural competence, and online resource credibility evaluation. And I won't forget to thank for all the committees who have worked hard to make this webinar series possible. Last but not least, the thank goes to each of the attendees for participating in this webinar. Hopefully, we will get the knowledge and the insight to be applied in our language teaching and learning. Before we start the presentation season, I'd like to invite Ibu Huzaimah Dahlan Dim, EDD, as the coordinator of SRS-TEFLIN, as well as one of the lecturers in the seminar on language and literature subject, together with Ibu Sari Silviani, PhD. To Ibu Huzaimah Dahlan Dim, EDD, please.
Thank you, host. I forget your name. Okay. I'm sorry. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. Respected President of TEFLIN, I hope he is watching. Yeah. Head of the Magister Program, Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, the Dean of Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, and the Rector of Sriwijaya University, all presenters today, and also all dedicated participants, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to say a few words that after we had interesting topics on multilingualism in practice, instructional materials development, barriers in implementing e-learning, classroom interaction, and student engagement for the last 4 days in a row. Today, we will still be having 6 more presenters talking about the most required skill in the 21st century, that is higher order thinking skills, or HOTS. All those 5 topics are presentations of our students, or shared by the distinguished students of the Language Education Magister program of the Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Sriwijaya University. In addition, these students are also newcomers in TEFLIN Association that we are really proud of. Respected participants, ladies and gentlemen, for those who have just joined our webinar today, actually today's event is one of the 5-day marathon webinars organized by the Southern region of Sumatra chapter of the Organization for the Teaching of English as a Foreign Language in Indonesia. As the coordinator of the SRS-TEFLIN, I feel very happy to announce that there have been 25 new TEFLIners in our area who have tried to share their review of literature as the provoking thoughts to not only their peer student colleagues, pre-service and in-service EFL teachers, but also teachers of other majors like math education and early childhood education in general. Therefore, for your participation today, I'd like to extend my gratitude to you and inform you that this webinar series would not have happened without good cooperation of the Graduate School of Language Education study program of the Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Sriwijaya University, and their students who have been involved in the committee of this webinar series and who have been working professionally hard. Thank you, Pak Soni, Pak Professor Sofendi, and Professor Anis Sagaf, respectively, as the head of the study program, the Dean of the Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, and the Rector of Sriwijaya University for allowing their students to work with us. In addition, I will never forget to extend my thanks to the President of TEFLIN, Professor Joko Nurkamto, and all of my TEFLIN board colleagues from all over Indonesia who always give us the moral and encouraging support. Well, this is our last day, last activity for this month. Hopefully, we will have more events such as workshops on language and literature for either English or Indonesian language teachers in the near future. Therefore, we'd like to invite teachers, lecturers, as well as the last semester students to participate in the coming workshops. So watch out for the call for papers. Flyer will be soon announced. Last but not least, this December, I'm excited to inform you that SRS-TEFLIN young scholars have already planned to hold the international webinar. Finally, to Miss Nyimas, Miss Fuji, Miss Fransiska, Miss Fatimah, Pak Iwan, and Pak Irnansyah. Thank you for being presenters and good luck with your presentation today. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that is all what I want to say. And please enjoy your webinar. I'm sure you won't regret for having decided to be here with us this whole afternoon. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam
warahmatullahi
warahmatullahi
wabarakatuh.
wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Ibu, for a very warm welcome. The next welcoming remark is from Bapak Sony Mirizan EDD as the Language Education Study Program Coordinator, Master's Program of Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Sriwijaya University. To Bapak Sony Mirizan EDD, please.
Okay, thank you, host Muhammad Wahyudi. Can you hear me, Wahyudi?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, respected President of TEFLIN, Professor Joko Nurkamto, respected Dean of the Education, Sriwijaya University, Professor S.Pd, respected Coordinator of South Region of Sumatra TEFLIN, Professor Huzaimah Dahlandim, respected colleague lecturers, we have Dr. Rita Indrawati here, okay, respected presenters, participants. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Today is the 5th graduate webinar, which will discuss critical issues in higher order thinking skills. Certainly, classroom interaction and assessment, and online resource credibility evaluation. In this occasion, please allow me to say a few words, welcoming remark to everyone attending this last Sumatra TEFLIN graduate student webinar this year. First of all, let me express my sincere appreciation to the coordinator of South Region of Sumatra, Ibu Professor Huzaimah Dahlandim, for her endless efforts in making SRS-TEFLIN exist and continuously contributes to English education in South Sumatra region through her fruitful ideas and successful leadership in SRS-TEFLIN activities. Next, my gratitude also goes to the presenters today, Nyimas Larasati Utami, S.Pd, Fransiska S.Pd, Iwan Wijaya S.Pd, Fatimah Tuzahra S.Pd, Irnansyah S.Pd, and Fuji Oktaviani S.Pd, for their to share their knowledge related to the critical issues in higher order thinking skills. I personally expect that they would always be willing to continue learning and sharing the knowledge to issues of English and societies, not only in terms of seminar, but also the real life as educators later. Then to all South Region of Sumatra TEFLIN committee members, Dr. Artantisari, Sari Silviani, Novalingga Vitaloka MPD, Hari Utama Putra S.Pd, and others that I cannot mention one by one. Yeah. I would also like to convey my gratefulness for their hard works, dedication, time, and effort in making this webinar possible for all of us. Last but not least, my gratitude goes also to the participant for joining us. I hope this webinar will give us much knowledge in the field of English language teaching, now and in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all good luck and please enjoy the 5th webinar today. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
wabarakatuh. Thank you very much for Bapak Sony Mirizan. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for me to let Rizky Aginia Hafiza S.Pd to take over the webinar as the moderator for the presentation season. To Rizky Aginia Hafiza S.Pd, the Zoom floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much. I'm Wahgide S.Pd. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, allow me to welcome all the presenters and also all the attendees for the 5th SRS-TEFLIN graduate students webinar today. The topic of our webinar today will be the higher order thinking skills. And we are going to have 6 presenters who will be delivering their thoughts and also their discussion to every one of us. Before I introduce our presenters today, I would like to inform you some rules of our webinar. First, in order to receive the certificate, you need to fill out the attendance form that we have shared in the chat box. And later on, at the end of the presentations, we will also provide the exit tickets in the form of feedback for all of you to fill out. And then we would like to remind you that the certificate will be sent to your email a week after this webinar. And if you have any questions regarding our topics today, please type it on the Q&A box and we will select some pertinent questions to be discussed by our presenters. Now it's time for me to begin our first session. I'm honored to welcome and introduce the first presenter. She is my fellow Miss Nyimas Larasati Utami S.Pd. Now, Miss Nyimas Larasati Utami, the Zoom floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you very much. Can you hear my voice clear, Miss Moderator?
Yes.
Okay. Can you see this screen that I share?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Here a moment. Is it in a full page?
Not yet.
All right. Okay, thank you very much to the moderator, Ms. Rizky Aginia Hafiza, for the opportunity given to me, and good afternoon, every one of you. All right, so my topic today is going to be about higher order thinking skills, teachers' perception and challenges in their assessment implementation. Education in 21st century has offered us the rapid development of knowledge and technology, which has resulted in a variety of jobs and social interaction patterns that are completely different from those that we have at some period of time prior to today. The challenges, the problems that human will face in the future are going to be very different, and it's going to be very complex. Thus, they cannot always be solved with the routine procedure. And here, what I'm going to tell you is about the existence of these 4 C skills: creativity and innovation, critical thinking and problem solving, and then making solutions with technology and working together in a communicative and collaborative way are the skills that all of our students need in response to the competitiveness of 21st century learning. This is in line with what Lutfianto, okay, wait a moment. This is in line with what Lutfianto and Sari have already found it, that with all the changes in the era of globalization, we need to prepare to improve the human resources in order for them to have the communicative, collaborative, and then critical thinking skills, as well as the ability to make the decision so that they are able to make use, to manage, and to respond to the current information flow and the technology updates. they're gonna need those skills to find a place in the 21st century workplace and workforce, because some of them probably will be doing the jobs or the social interaction patterns that do not even exist yet today, like finding the solutions to the problems that will occur in the future, and they know nothing about those problems yet. Because of this, the world of education has to prepare itself to face these changes, such as equipping the students with higher order thinking skills. Why HOTS? In relation to the demand of 21st century learning, seemingly HOTS is one of the crucial policies that we need to implement. The reason is because HOTS, according to Brookhart, offers the three criteria or three categories, which are critical thinking, problem solving, and transfer. Let's discuss about this one by one. First of all, transfer. In the term of transfer, students are not expected to only get the knowledge and then also as well as the skills, but they are also expected to apply those skills and those knowledge that they are getting in order for them to apply it in the new situations or the real life context. Another category is critical thinking, which requires the students to apply wise decision and also to make a logical critique. Like they need to make a decision very wisely and by also considering the consequences that are following those decisions they are making. And then the other criteria or category is the problem solving one. And problem solving requires students to be able to discover a solution to a certain problem that cannot simply be solved by memorizing or remembering. Okay. And considering the needs of the 21st century learning demands, the Indonesian educational system, let's say the Ministry of Education and Culture, has already includes the higher order thinking skills in our current curriculum, which is the curriculum 2013, specifically the one which was revised in 2017. And this is why we, as the educators of the Indonesian educational system, is supposed to show a shift in teaching with the emphasis of HOTS, and this implementation should have already been applied in the early of 2017. However, the result from PISA 2018 revealed that the score for Indonesian students reading literacy is below the average. You can, as you guys can see from those from the chart that I'm showing on the screen, Indonesia is in the rank 75 out of 80 countries. And as you can see, you can see that the blue one is for the reading literacy, and then for the red one is for the mathematics, and then the yellow one is for the science. And we see that the average is on the very right one, the average of all the countries. We can see that Indonesia is lower, so it's much lower. It's very far from the average of all the countries. The average reached more than it's about 480 or 490, and Indonesian score of PISA didn't even reach 400 for the reading literacy. And what is actually worse is that this result, when we compare this result from PISA 2012, PISA 2015, and PISA 2018, let's see the blue line. The blue line is for the reading literacy. In 2012, our score is 396. In 2015, it increased. Well, it increased, even though it's 1 point, 397. But unfortunately, in 2018, it drops to 371. Okay, in 2012, let's say we had not implemented the incorporation of HOTS yet in our curriculum. But in 2018, our situation has already implemented we have already incorporated HOTS in our curriculum. But why can this happen? How could this happen? Isn't it supposed to increase when we have already applied the 2013 curriculum, which has already got HOTS in it? But sadly, our score dropped in 2018. And I think this is where the problem lies. How could this happen? Is the implementation of HOTS in teaching and learning process still not effectively applied yet? Well, according to the study from Seman et al., teacher is one of the main factors that influence students that influence students' success and also failure in teaching for HOTS. Teachers' lack of pedagogical expertise to develop their methods by incorporating HOTS into their lessons has also been discovered questionable. Just like what is found by Rajendran, teachers were confident in teaching content, but were still not ready to include HOTS in their classroom teaching. This also corresponds with a study by Malini and Sarjit, who argued that the difference between the knowledge of pedagogical content and the implementation of HOTS in the language classroom was caused by the resilience and incompetence of teachers to develop the activities in integrating HOTS in the instruction. Okay, is that the only cause, or are students not familiar with the questions or assessments integrating HOTS? Because what we know is that in the PISA result, as we know that in PISA, they requires higher order thinking skills in their questions. Is it our scores, our reading literacy score is very low? Is it because the students are not familiar yet with the kind of questions or assessment that integrates HOTS? Well, evidently, in order to improve higher order thinking skills, questions from teachers about higher order thinking skills play a key role to classroom teaching. So Faith, Elsner, and Haynes stated that the teachers' questioning in the classroom has been used for centuries as a method for testing students' abilities, encouraging comprehension, and improving higher order thinking skills among the students. And another study by Jensen, McDaniel, Woodard, and Kummer also showed that assessment that focuses on higher order thinking skills can stimulate students to understand the lesson more deeply, so that they are not only capable of applying, analyzing, and evaluating, but will also be better at remembering the factual knowledge that are taught. Well, in Indonesian context, the Ministry of Education and Culture claims that teachers need to develop HOTS-based questions since it is essential to prepare students' competence to face the 21st century, increase students' learning motivation, and also improve the quality of assessment. Okay, so what is actually important about assessing students' HOTS? Here, Brookhart stated that there are two benefits for the teachers to assess the students' HOTS. The first one is to increase the student motivation, and then the second one is to increase students' achievement. First one, increasing the student motivation. Several studies have shown that teachers are responsible for higher order thinking skills using tasks and judgments. These things need understanding and critical thinking to improve students' motivation as well as the students' achievement. Students will not be interested or motivated by the abstract material but they are really into the detailed things which make them motivate to learn. And higher order thinking skills offer those things, and it makes them interested in mastering the ideas of paying attention to the details instead of just the abstract things that are being explained by the teachers. And the students will think it more fun to have the application directly rather than just the theory. And it is in line with what Burkhardt also mentioned. And then a study by Nyimas revealed that 109 middle school teachers and 200 middle school students in urban, suburban, and rural communities found that higher order thinking practices were the only practices found to be related to motivation for both the teachers as well as the students' perspective. And then the second benefit is to increase the students' achievement. The progress are shown in various learning outcomes that such as the standard scores, such as what PROGROW reported that with HOTS, it took about 4 months for students will give a reason for a response without being asked. And it took about 6 months before they will disconfirm a prior answer. So we can see the significant difference that with HOTS, the knowledge can be obtained in 4 months, and then without HOTS, it takes about 6 months. It means that this influences the student's achievement. All right. So if we have those benefits from applying or assessing the students' HOTS, so what actually limits the teacher to assess the students' HOTS? So here are some challenges that we will discuss in this discussion. We have the teacher's perception, and we have the students' cognitive competence, and teachers' limited knowledge and sources as the challenges that the teachers actually faced in assessing students' HOTS. First of all, teachers' perception. The result of the study by Diaz et al. Indicated that most of the EFL teachers still misunderstood the concept of HOTS. It can be seen by the statement of some teachers that they were still confused about distinguishing skills for higher order thinking skills and solving difficult problems. They assumed that HOTS-based questions are always difficult to be solved. It is in line with the study of Ratnawati et al., who claimed that Indonesian teachers, especially in mathematics subjects, still misconceive HOTS concepts. It could portray the teacher's understanding about HOTS in general, that not all the teachers of subject matters, including EFL, understand the concept of HOTS well. And this is also influenced by the fact that only some teachers have already experienced the workshop given by the government, and not all the teachers get those, let's say, facility, or some teachers reported that they haven't got any workshop regarding how to develop HOTS-based question, and that's what makes them confused in assessing the students' HOTS. Okay, the next one is the teacher's limited knowledge and sources. It's also reported by Tias et al. That the questions found in the assessment that are developed by the teachers have more LOTS questions rather than the HOTS questions. As you can see on the screen, these are the cognitive domain that we have. Previously, the Bloom's original taxonomy, we have analysis, synthesis, and evaluation as the higher order thinking skills, but it has been revised by Anderson and Krathwohl, 2001. They have revised the top three, the higher order critical thinking skills, into analyzing, evaluating, and creating. And what is found by this study by Tias is that the questions still have remembering, understanding, more on remembering, understanding, and applying rather than the analyzing, evaluating, and creating. And also there is this one challenge that makes the teachers feel challenging to apply or to assess the higher order thinking skills. to the students, which is inadequate sources. Let's say that the responsibility of incorporating HOTS is not only on the teachers, but it is also on the stakeholders, any stakeholders in the educational field. And let's say the government or the school itself did not really facilitate the teachers with adequate sources so that they can develop their own HOT-based question. And then the next one is the students' cognitive competence. Students' cognitive competence is can be, we can say that the challenge comes from the fact that students are actually heterogeneous, and it makes the teacher think twice to develop the higher order thinking skills, because not every students have the same ability in preserving or in getting the knowledge. There are some students who can think critically, but some students are not able to think critically. And the teachers said that students' cognitive competence play a crucial role for students in answering the HOTS-based questions. In EFL subject, giving students HOTS-based question means that we are asking them to be critical thinkers as well as a good language users. For the students with good cognitive competence, it seems easier to answer the questions whether it is in LOTS or it is in HOTS based. However, the result will be different for the students who have poor or low cognitive competence. They will be forced to survive in two things at the same time: understanding the language aspects and also thinking how to answer it critically. The result of the study by Singh et al. Showed the arguments that the weak English as a second or foreign language learners need special treatment in teaching learning process. Therefore, EFL teachers need to make wise decisions about appropriate teaching pedagogy as well as the questions for assessment to apply HOTS in the teaching learning context. This is what also makes the teachers be in the confusion, because they still haven't found a way of how to make their materials acceptable for both students with weak English competence and language competence, and the ones who are actually quite strong in the English or language competence. Okay, so we've come to the conclusion of this discussion that some teachers still misunderstood about the concept of HOTS itself. Some teachers just think that HOTS is actually a difficult question. It needs long words and long sentences to make the questions. And it's not only about that, but it's about the how the questions can be applied for the students in the real life context. And then the assessments that focuses on higher order thinking skills can stimulate students to understand the lesson more deeply. And there are three aspects of the challenges faced by the students. The first one is the teacher's aspect, which is about the teacher's perception and also teacher's experience, whether they have got like I mentioned before, whether they have already got the workshop or the training to develop higher order thinking skills assessment. And then the second aspect is from the teaching and learning aspects. It's regarding the sources that I mentioned before, have the facilitate that is provided, do the facilitates and sources have already supported the incorporation of HOTS or for developing the higher order thinking skills assessment. And then the last aspect of the challenge is from the students aspect that I mentioned, the last one, which is regarding their competence, their cognitive competence, because they are heterogeneous and they have different ability in accepting the lessons. And then what I can suggest is that to the school authorities that this is not only the responsibility of the teachers, but the school authorities must consider the internal and external factors that affect the development. And then beside that, it also making the policies regarding the interrogation of HOTS. The government also needs to provide teachers with continuous training or workshop and a supervision, as well as the modules regarding HOTS, so that the teachers will have the guidance in developing HOTS assessment. And I think that is all what I can deliver to you regarding these issues, higher order thinking skills. I give it back to the moderator. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nyimas Larasati Utami, S.Pd, for delivering a presentation entitled Higher Order Thinking Skills, Teachers' Perceptions and Challenges in Their Assessment Implementation. What a fruitful presentation you delivered to us this afternoon, and we will looking forward to having you again in question and answer session. All right. Now we are going to continue for the second presenters, but before I continue, I would like to encourage all the attendees again for filling out the attendance list or the attendance form that has been provided in the chat box. And also I would like to welcome our lecturers, Ibu Mahdalena Vianti and also Ibu Rita Hayati. Welcome, Ibu. Ibu Mahda is there. Okay, so we are going to continue to the second presenters. That is Miss Fransiska Ika, S.Pd, with a presentation entitled EFL Coursebook, A Path to Reach Intercultural Communicative Competence. To Miss Fransiska Ika, S.Pd, time is yours.
Thank you, moderator. A moment, let me share my PowerPoint. Okay. Is it in a full screen?
Yes.
Is my voice is clear?
Yes, Miss Ika, you can continue.
Okay. Ya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, selamat siang, salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Om Swastiastu. I give several greetings to all of the participants regarding to my topic today about intercultural communicative competence. First of all, I would like to say that it is an honor for me to be one of the presenters in this session to share my interests. The title of the topic that I will share today is EFL Coursebook, A Path to Reach in International Communicative Competence. There are some points that I will share today. The first one is about what is intercultural communicative competence, the significance of ICC, ICC EDLT, and how do we utilize Coursebook to develop the learner's ICC. Globalization and the new technology bring people from different cultural and linguistic background closer together, and English is used as a means of communication. The data show around 1.27 billion people are now using English around the world, and English has an official role in more than 100 countries and territories. More than 95% of communication using English in the world is now between the non-native speakers of language. It means that only 4% of the communication involves native speakers of English. The data also show that now the majority of the international travelers are from non-native English-speaking countries to non-English-speaking countries, requiring the use of international language, which is, in most cases, it is English. The globalization of English and its rapid use among communities of speakers around the world has led the localization of language and development of many varieties of English. This is what we call as globalization. Globalization. The people in communities, they use English, adopt it to decode and express their cultural conceptualizations. For example, the word lucky money. People in Taiwan or Hong Kong use this term to refer the money in red envelope that is given to others as a gift in lunar celebration. If we don't understand this, we might think that this is money that we get as a winner when we play poker, for example, because we are lucky. So maybe they can call it lucky money. If I hear this term, maybe I will think that the money that I found on the street accidentally, maybe. Or another example, the term golden rice bowl. People in China use the term golden rice bowl to refer to a high-paid or prestigious job. Or maybe another example, and this is my experience. When I was in Korea, my Korean students quite often said fighting, fighting, fighting. At first, I thought that maybe they want to have, they said like that. Or do they want to have something like quarrel, or who's to be fought? At the time, I felt like that. But in fact, it is an expression to give an encouragement, or it is the same meaning as good luck for them. But still, in this case, they use English. It is English word. But although they are English words, they actually have different meanings that what the native speaker refer to. And there are still many other terms or names that may have been localized, in which if we don't understand those words, those expressions, it can create misunderstanding in communication. Then this led to a question: what competencies is required to cope with the conditions in which communication happens involving interlocutors from different linguistic and cultural backgrounds? The learners need to be equipped with ICC, International Communicative, Intercultural Communicative Competence. ICC is one of the most vital skills in the 21st century to survive in a multicultural communication context. And then the concept of ICC itself is variously defined by different scholars. Names like Bennett, Byram, Fantini, Sinekrop are all the experts in intercultural communicative competence. But in this discussion, I use Byram's model as the most comprehensive frameworks and the most frequent use in language teaching. Byram defines intercultural communicative competence as the ability that enables one to effectively and appropriately interact in a language other than one native language with others from different linguistic and cultural backgrounds. In his model of intercultural communicative competence, Byram views that intercultural communicative competence as a combination of two major competencies: communicative competence and intercultural competence. Communicative competence is represented by linguistic, sociolinguistic, and discourse competence, while intercultural competence comprises the dimension of attitudes, knowledge, skill of interpreting and relating, and the skills of discovery and interaction, as well as critical cultural awareness. What must be indicated is that the context of the intercultural communication, Byram's communicative competence and intercultural competence are mutually related in that communicative competence is not complete without the sub-voice, without the dimension of the intercultural competence. Moreover, the degree to which the sub-words themselves are developed conditions the quality of the learner's communicative competence. For instance, like this, knowledge also embraces elements of language. Attitude may determine linguistic success, while sub-words apprende may also serve as the purpose of learning English. Now, please take a look at the story between a Chinese constable asking for a permission from his British superintendent. This is a short story. Okay, after we read this story, who do you think was responsible for the communication breakdown in the interaction? Do you have the same opinion with me that the British superintendent was the one who was responsible for the communication breakdown because he was not able to accept the Chinese style even though he perfectly understood what his interlocutor said and meant? And then please compare to the following setting. A communication between two non-native speakers. If this exchange happened among two non-native English speakers, the outcome will be different. What can be inferred from these two examples is that intercultural communication is a competency and willingness to understand what the other has to say, not the disposition to impose one's value or norms onto the other. It requires empathy, respect, tolerance, sensitivity, or flexibility. So, a learner who has acquired intercultural communicative competence is able to construct relationship while communicating in a foreign language, communicates effectively, taking into account the point of view of himself and the other persons and needs, mediates interaction between people from different cultures, and aims to improve communicative skill further. The importance of ICC has been pointed out by several countries. Regulations or policies have been issued related to the goal of teaching and learning foreign language. Common European Framework, or in Indonesian context, the 2013 curriculum issued as a response to the demand of globalization. It is demanded that the goal of learning foreign language is not only to be able to communicate, but also to promote mutual understanding, respect, and tolerance among the global citizen. What is the final goal is, the ultimate goal is that to live harmoniously in a multicultural communities. In the area of foreign language teaching, scholars have realized that the main goal in teaching foreign language should be shifted away from its focus on the development of the native speaker competence toward more realistic competencies to facilitate communication between speakers from a wide range of cultural backgrounds. To accommodate this, we need to facilitate the learners, providing with the context of communication, that is, by exposing them to various cultural backgrounds. with regard to this, there are some points to consider in relation to integrating intercultural communicative competence in English language teaching. According to Optekin argues that English should be taught in a new pedagogical model as an international language whose culture is the world itself. To him, such a model should be based on successful bilingual as exemplars rather than the monolingual native speaker, equipping the learners with an awareness of difference and with strategies for coping with such difference. And also about the materials. The materials in this case should involve local and international context, familiar and relevant to the learner's life, and provide suitable discourse samples pertaining to the native and non-native speakers interaction, as well as non-native and non-native speaker interaction. And then, how about Coursebook? Coursebook continues to be an integral part of language teaching and learning in the classroom setting. And it is the most favored use, especially in Indonesia context, due to its practicality, including me, I think, because I still rely on the textbook a lot when I teach in my classroom. As Coursebook can be a source of materials, it is believed that Coursebook can give influence on the learner's language development. The question is then, how we utilize it to develop the learner's ICC. Some empirical research conducted in China, Turkey, Thailand, and Indonesia on how the EFL Coursebook developed learners' ICC show that the Coursebook only directed to the learners to reach certain dimension of the ICC based on Byram's framework. Looking at them more deeply, the failure of not reaching the entire Byram's ICC dimension is because the Coursebook did not provide enough learning tasks that directed the learners to reach all of the ICC dimension. More surprisingly, the Indonesian Coursebook, the book that was written by the Indonesian and published by the Ministry of Education, failed to develop the learner's ICC due to the absence of target or international culture. From these studies, we can learn that in order to develop learners' ICC, we can utilize Coursebook, as Coursebook is the representation of culture. The language contained in it is in the form of collection of signs like articles, illustration, sounds, sentences, idioms, or even just a word that they are not ideologically neutral, and they are culturally rich and have potential to be used in developing the ICC. This collection of signs represents certain culture of society. Like the following pictures. I took some pages from some EFL Coursebook. By looking at this illustration, names, colors, words, we can guess the material refer to a certain country, right? This one. This picture, for example. From the symbol, we can guess that it is a symbol of pound sterling, meaning that this refers to British Council. Or the second picture, from the word mukuri, we can know that this dialogue represents a Japanese culture. However, we cannot just rely on the pictures, words, just as they are. If we just tell the students where the culture comes from or what culture reflected by a picture, it means that we just transfer the knowledge. we don't guide the students to develop the knowledge, skill, and attitude dimensions. We limit the learner's potentials of learning and construction of cultural knowledge and understanding. Though we know that from the constructivist theory, learning is the result of mental construction and the process in which learners build new ideas or concepts based on their prior knowledge and experience. Therefore, to better construct the learner's accomplishment and understanding, Tomelin and Stemplesky and Chai and Alfie suggest a task-oriented and cooperative learning approach in studying the culture. In relation to coursebook, as the cultural information in EFL coursebook should be wrapped in a package with the learning tasks and activities to facilitate the learners in constructing a new learning experience. Like the following examples. The books provided some activities leading the learners to reach a certain ICC. Okay, this one leading to certain dimensions of ICC. Now, to assure whether the coursebook provides learning activities leading to the learners to achieve certain ICC dimension, we can use Byram's ICC models as a framework. For Savoir or dimension of knowledge, we can check whether the book provides information about both the learner's culture and of others or not. So it refers to the dimension of knowledge. Or to the dimension of attitude, we can make sure whether there are any learning activities that give opportunities to the learners to find different perspectives on cultural issues, and learners have opportunity to question the values, the presupposition on cultural issues, or because of that, they may change their value or to have the new perspective. And then to reach the dimension of interpreting and relating skill, we can check if the learning tasks provide opportunities for the learners to compare and contrast between theirs and the international culture, analyze it to find the ethnocentric perspective, and identify the cause of the misunderstanding and explain them. That's to reach the dimension of interpreting and relating skill. And then in terms of the dimension of in terms of the skill of discovery or interaction, make sure that the learning activities lead the learners to find out new knowledge of culture from different sources. And we can check whether the learning task, the learning skill, the learning activities give opportunities to apply knowledge, attitudes, and skills under the constraints of a real-time communication and interaction. And then for the last dimensions, critical awareness dimension, we can make sure whether the learning tasks give the opportunity for the learners to facilitate the learners to reflect upon the practices of their own. Okay, to sum up of what we have discussed, intercultural competence is one of the most vital skills for people in the 21st century to survive in the multicultural communication context. And to prepare the learners, it should be the aim of the foreign language instruction. So the ICC should be the aim of the foreign language instruction. Coursebook, as one of the part in language teaching, is one of the media that we can use in within the classroom. It is a source of exposure to various cultures. The learning tasks offered by the coursebook will facilitate the learners to acquire the intercultural communicative competence. As the implication of this is sometimes Coursebook do not offer enough learning tasks, facilitating the learners to reach the ICC dimensions, so that the teacher's role is needed in redesigning or planning the classroom activities leading to the ICC acquisition. And then, due to that, it is suggested that for further study, to dig more information about the teacher's perception or knowledge regarding to the ICC. That's all what I can share for this session. Now I'm waiting for some questions, comments, or further discussion. Thank you very much for the attention, and I return this mic to the mic moderator.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fransiska Ika, S.Pd, for the amazing presentation. I believe that there have been some questions for you, Ms. Ika. The committees are still selecting those questions, and I know that you are ready to answer that. All right. So thank you to Ms. Fransiska Ika. We are going to move on to the third presenter today. And again, I would like to remind all the attendees and all the participants to fill out the attendance list form that has been provided in the chat box. So now let me welcome Ms. Fatimah Tuzahra, S.Pd, and she will be delivering a topic entitled Online Source Credibility, How Could Non-English Students Cope with It? Ms. Fatimah Tuzahra, the Zoom floor is yours.
Well, thank you for your time, moderator. Okay, can you see my my slide?
Yes, we can see that.
Well, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Fatimah Tuzahra, English Education Graduate Students, Faculty of Teachers and Training and Education, Sriwijaya University. In today's presentations, I would like to present a topic about reading a line, how non-English students evaluate the credibility of the sources. Okay. Well, here are the outlines that I'm going to explain you. There are 8 aspects that I'm going to explain. Okay, let me start from, well, before I explain further about the topic, okay, let me start from the definitions of the credibility by some scholars. Okay, the first one is Reed defines credibility as the authenticity, while the first one is Park defines credibility as authenticity, while Reed refers to credibility as people assessment whether information is trustworthy based on their expertise and knowledge. So in general, some scholars whose expertise in this topic stated that credibility covers the main aspects, which are trustworthiness and expertise. According to Ray, trustworthy information refers to real, equal, accurate, and unbiased information, while Park describes expertise as the perceived knowledge, skill, and experience of sources. Okay. Well, I would like to give you, explain you about the typology of credibility. There are 2 kinds of typology of credibility. The first one is source credibility, the second one is message credibility, and the third one is media credibility. Okay, the first one is the source credibility. Source credibility usually refers to judgment made by the perceiver concerning the credibility of the communicator, while message credibility examines how characteristics such as language as well as the content can impact perceptions of the credibility informations. While and the last one is media credibility. It actually focuses on the relative characteristics of various channels through which a message is sent. In general, I can say that media credibility studies about people's reactions toward completing reports on the same story from the varied media. Okay, now let's start Okay, now I would like to move on to why evaluating the credibility of online sources is actually the main issues. Okay? As the greater use of internet in seeking information, and the evolutions, the quality, and the way people of credibility is crucial. As a matter of fact, internet provides convenient platform for people in obtaining sources that they need. However, not all the wide-ranging sources available online is credible. Okay, it is stated by, as stated by Byram, that information available from various online sources mostly do not stress on resources based on the objectivity and subjectivity of information required by the users. In addition, some scholars like Robbins et al., Fisher et al., and Goldbeck stated that the availability of sources on the web has led to confusion in determining what and whom to trust. Okay, therefore, it is important for us to evaluate the credibility of sources that we find online. Besides, it is part of thinking of. It is the part of critical thinking skill. It can also avoid us from misguided information. As Tuchman and Micheli stated that some misinformation misguidedly has been used for information. In conclusion, I can say that by judging the quality of online sources, we can ensure the information that we obtain is relevant, as well as avoided from fabricated information. Okay. Now, the theory of credibility of evaluations. Actually, so in this slide, in this topic, to scholars, whose expertise in credibility, and I would like to explain about it from Wharton and Burkle, and as well as Harris. Wharton and Burkle consider that credibility assessment for online sources is interpretive process. In which involves credibility, in which involve evaluations of surface and evaluation of message credibility. Okay, the first one, I would like to explain about the evaluation of surface. Based on the model, Warren and Burkle stated that people started making judgment about the characteristics of the site. For instance, the appearance, the usability, as well as organizations of information. While evaluations of message credibility, while in the process of message credibility, people evaluate the credibility of the message delivered by the websites in the terms of source and message. While Harris proposes 5 aspects in determining in assessing the credibility, like authority, consistency, style and accuracy of the text, all of the text, and authentication of the information in the text. Okay. This is actually the main issue. Actually, the main issue why people are reluctant to evaluate credibility of online sources. So here, I would like to give you, okay, based on what I have read from some articles. Yeah, I highlight actually 2 main concerns why people are reluctant to evaluate the credibility of online sources. Actually, the first one, I can say that user willingness. Okay, when Metzger also stated that when people do not have intentions or willingness in determining the quality, in determining the quality of information, credibility will be less important aspect. Yeah. While time considerations, and the second one is time considerations. While Greer stated that when doing credibility evaluation, the user should take time to check the data. Actually, when we want to evaluate the credibility, we need some time to we need some time. Yeah. And then, okay. The next slides, I would like to give you some information about the behavior, actually the behaviors toward English web searches, online sources credibility. The first one is HERS, who studies examine about adult people and young people behaviors while evaluating the online sources. When assessing HERS, HERS stated that when assessing the information, adult people seekers are likely to in the information when they think it's trustworthy and accessible, while young people, they prefer to find information based on the topic and their preference and show less interest in authority as well as credibility. And the next is Fiddle et al. Yeah, who examine about high school students' behavior toward online sources credibility. It is stated that in determining the quality of online sources, high school students more rely on design and graphic in websites, and they do not consider credibility as the essential aspect. Now, let's take a look. How about foreign language web searcher behaviors? Okay, here I have two studies here from Liu and Huang and Catherine. Liu and Huang, who's examines undergraduate students and graduate students toward in judging credibility. Okay, the study of Liu and Huang, yeah, in a cross-cultural study in United States and China toward the behavior of undergraduate and graduate students, reported that undergraduate students, when it comes to evaluate the online source credibility, they prefer to other things, reputations, and as well as the website reputations. While graduate students, when it comes, they more rely on quality and accuracy of information that they find online. In Indonesian context, I can say that the study of Catherine, who's conducted survey on 400 respondents toward by using credibility model by plugin and Metzger. In this model, yeah, in this model, plugin and Metzger covers believability, accuracy, trustworthiness, bias, and completeness. And the result of this study, the result of Catherine's study shows that Indonesian people more rely on trustworthiness and completeness in determining the credibility of online sources. Okay, now let's take. Okay, next is the empirical studies related to online sources credibility. Okay, in this slides, I will show you about from English native web searches contact. The first one is the study of Farzani. Yeah. The study of Farzani involving 143 seventh grade students from two schools in United States showed that students are struggling in evaluating the online sources of the credibility of online sources. And Metzger also the study of Metzger and also have the same point with Farzani. Actually, the students in the study seems unwilling to check the credibility of web-based information. And the last one is the study of media awareness network. Yeah, mostly in the study, mostly to faculty age children do not check information for credibility, reliability, as well as authenticity. So I can conclude that the students, students who participate in three studies do not check the credibility when they determining the quality of the information. I can conclude it. Okay. Now let's move on. To how about the non-native language web searchers? Okay. I think young adult and commodity adult studies here to support this. Okay. Young adult studies should study about evaluating evaluating credibility of English web searches as foreign language shows that that participants in this study do not check the credibility of online sources because of their language proficiency. It is actually in line with Comedy et al. Yeah, the finding of the Comedy et al. That the students, the participants in this study do not check the credibility of online sources because they are suffering and judging the credibility in foreign language searching due to their language proficiency. Okay. Okay. Now I can conclude it. Okay, I can conclude it from the empirical studies that I have shown you earlier that non-native English, that native English language searchers are reluctant to do online search credibility motivated by user willingness and some considerations, while foreign language web searchers are caused by their language proficiency. So there are the two differences, yeah, between native and as well as foreign language web searchers, motive and why they do not check the probability of in their when they determine the quality of the information. And the second conclusion that I can conclude that in assessing the quality of online sources, adult people prefer to see the credibility of websites, yeah, while young people tend to see the appearance of a website. Okay. The last one is the recommendations. Okay, the recommendation. The first one is I would like to give some recommendation for the internet users. Actually, it suggested to take some time checking the online information by seeing the website for checking information sources. And the second one is for the researchers whose expertise in critical digital literacy. Actually, it is recommended to find out the solution for Indonesian students in checking the credibility of online sources by providing online platform in tackling misleading information. Because I can conclude, because I have seen from many websites, it is that Indonesians until nowadays, yeah, doesn't provide, yeah, doesn't provide a platform to check the information, whether, or we can say that it is fact checker, but I can find it in English. Okay, well, I think that's all for my presentations. Thank you very much for your attention. Okay, I will return to the moderator.
Thank you very much, Fatimah Tuzahra, S.Pd, for the awesome presentation. And we are going to have 3 more presenters. And now let me continue to the next presenter. That is Irnansyah, S.Pd, with a presentation entitled EFL Textbook versus Implementation of Higher Order Thinking Skills. To Irnansyah, S.Pd, time is yours.
Hello?
Mr. Irnansyah? Oh, okay, we can hear your voice.
Okay.
You may start now.
Okay, thank you for the moderator for giving me a chance to deliver my presentation today. Can you hear my voice? Hello?
Yes, it's clear.
Okay. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. First, I would like to say thank you very much for the attendees for joining this last webinar series. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Irnansyah, a graduate student of Sriwijaya University, majoring English Education Department. Well, in this opportunity, I would like to discuss or present my topic entitled English Foreign Language or EFL textbooks versus implementation of higher order thinking skill or HOTS. I'm interested in this topic because I assume that Indonesian EFL textbooks do not include HOTS that much or lack of higher order thinking skills. Maybe some include, but I think it's still not reach the need of 21st century skills. Okay. The main discussion of my presentation today, I have divided into three. You can see here the outline. First, introductions. The second one is about EFL textbook in relation to higher order thinking skill or HOTS. And then the last one, conclusion and suggestion. Okay, before I talk about my research findings, I want to explain a little bit about two variables. It's about higher order thinking skills or HOTS and textbook. Let's start from textbook. We know that one of the instructional media in the process of teaching and learning process is textbooks. Okay, textbooks can be generally defined as content of subject matter. So in this case, the subject matter, it can be maths, geography, English, or maybe social science. Okay. So we can see from the Dignas 2004, it said that
Pak Irnansyah, sorry for interrupting. Could you please talk a little bit louder?
okay. Can you hear my voice?
Yes, I think
Okay.
you should make it steady like this. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for the information. Okay, the Dignas state that textbook it is a set of a compilation of teaching materials made by the authors based on the current curriculum. So it means that textbook it should be reflect to the current curriculums. Okay, moreover, it is supported by Mendiknas. They said that a textbook it is a teaching material in the printed ones that can be a source of material presented to the learners in the process of teaching and learning. And then the last, you can see, textbooks can be used as a source to transfer and invest knowledge to the learners according to Sa and so on. Okay, now we can move to the next, the function of the textbook itself. So textbook can be a guideline and also reference. You can see from Margana and also Febrina, they said that textbook serve as a guide for the student and teachers in the level of in the level of education, especially in the secondary schools. So textbook also can be used as a reference for the students while they are studying. They can use textbooks as their reference. And also a textbook has a function as the center of instruction. And then textbook can be a resource of material presentations. Here from Cunning Words, they said that textbook also can be a syllabus. It is reflect the learning objectives that have been determined by the teachers before they teach in the classroom. And also a textbook can support the teachers who is lack of confidence in the process teaching and learning. Okay, here the characteristic of textbook. The textbook should reflect the current curriculums, and also it should correspond to the need of the students, and then represent the use which learners will make of the language. And also textbooks has the characteristics that it has a clear role as a support for the learning. Okay, next, talking about HOTS. Actually, talking about HOTS, it's already uh, mentioned before from the previous presenters. But here I'm going to tell my own explanation about HOTS. HOTS is a complex judgmental skill such as critical thinking and problem solving. So okay, actually there are many experts classifying HOTS as the three highest levels of cognitive domains. You can see here there are 6 cognitive domains. We can read it from the bottom to the tops. Start from remembering, understanding, and applying. Those skills are called LOTS, or lower order thinking skills. While the three highest levels of cognitive domains, they are called HOTS, or higher order thinking skills. So in this case, HOTS, it is the skills that the students must use their own critical thinking. So it's deal with the application of high level of thinking, which includes synthesizing or analyzing, evaluating, and creating. So those three skills are concerned with the productive tasks. Okay, next. Here you can see the Bloom's taxonomy. It's the revised one. I'm going to explain a little bit about it. Start from remembering. When we talk about remembering, it's about when memory used to produce definition. So in this case, the students only memorize or recalls the information from the students, from the teachers, I mean. And then understanding. Understanding in here, it's all about constructing meaning from many different types of functions. So the students explains, identify, and recognize what they have read or learned. And then next, still about lots applying. In this case, it is about breaking materials into parts. So the students try to demonstrate, or they solve the problems in a new way. Okay, next, move to the highest level, the three highest levels of cognitive elements that we are calling HOTS. Start from analyzing. Analyzing, it's about the skill that students have to conclude about some things. If they have learned about some things, or they find new information, they try to conclude it by themselves. And then evaluating, it's about making a judgment based on the criteria and the standard through checking and critics. And then the last one is creating. So this skill about combining elements to form a whole, and also recognizing elements into new structure or patterns by planning and producing. Okay, here you can see here. HOTS always display as a pyramid in which its position is on the top. You can see here it's the original one and then the revision one. The original, it forms as a noun, and then the revision one forms into verbs. In my opinions, why it becomes a verb, I think these skills are very important in this 21st century era. So it means that it is a must as students to get these skills to face this 21st century era. Okay, next, HOTS is associated with education, especially in teaching and learning process. So when we are talking about HOTS, so it means that we are talking about the current curriculum. Means that the institution like school and education. So talking about HOT, it means that we are talking about the question of the textbooks. We're not talking about the text. HOT's always related to the level of the questions. So in this case, HOTS, the presence of HOTS can be determined from the stem of the questions, whether it requires analysis, evaluation, or criterions. So in this slide, I have put the questions. How do clothes forms? In these questions, we have to choices to answer. If the answer of the question is directly stated in the reading passage, it means the question it's belong to lots. So the students just retrieve the answer of the question, and then they don't need to think much to answer the question. But if the answer of the question require explanation, meaning the information, and then it's not directly stated but can be concluded by the students, so it means that the questions belong to HOTS. The students need to think critically to conclude, to answer the questions. Okay, why HOTS? It's already mentioned before from the previous presenters about the function of HOTS itself. But here, basically, HOTS has a function to promote or to improve the cognitive ability of the students. And also it helps learners to think creatively and innovatively. In general, you can say that HOTS can improve the students' critical thinking. And also the function or the function of HOTS is to fulfill the limit of the 21st century education, as I mentioned before. Okay, next. Talking about textbook in relation to HOTS means that we are talking about the current curriculums. So it's very important to put HOTS in the textbooks. As Ahmad said that the 21st century skills are stated in several new educational policies, and one of the most crucial policies is the implementation of HOTS. Supported by Margana and Widantoro, the development of English textbooks does not only meet learners' need and interest, but also drive them to develop their thinking skills through the tasks or activities which exist in English textbook. Okay, next, implemented HOTS-based textbooks. This is my findings. Okay, we know that when we are talking about implemented HOTS-based textbooks, we can start from these three statements. That the teachers, there are three elements that have big roles in applying higher order thinking skills. There are teachers, students, and teaching materials. Start from teachers. We know that teachers always, that can be defined as the resource or the resource for the students to transfer knowledge to the students. So what are based on the curriculums or the 21st century needs. And then in terms of students in here as receivers in the learning and teaching process. But even as receivers, students are demanded to be active in the classroom. They should be interact among their friends, teachers, in order to apply the skills. I mean that the higher order thinking skills. And then the last one is teaching materials. In this case, I think this is the most crucial elements that in implementing HOTS based textbooks, because from these teaching materials, I mean these textbooks, students can get accustomed to do or in related to do the test related to the HOTS questions. Okay. Next, empirical research here. I believe that there have been many articles discussing about HOTS or higher order thinking skills related to textbooks materials. But in this limited study, I have found 11 articles, 3 from foreign and then 8 the local ones. Here you can see there were 11 articles talking about HOTS related to textbooks or teaching materials, and then 7 articles talking about or review about teaching materials in textbooks containing HOTS, and then 2 were to talk about the perception of HOTS in the classroom, and then the last 2 talking about the application of higher order thinking skill or HOTS. So you can see here. Okay, out of 11 articles that I have found, I adopted 7 articles since they supported my topic, in which that I have mentioned before that I believe EFL textbook in Indonesia itself still lack of higher order thinking skills, or they do not or they don't have HOTS that much in the textbooks. So so you can see here the table. Actually, the objectives of this study relative the same. All of the textbooks reviewed, discuss, or investigate to what extent HOTS were manifested. So we can start from number 1. It is from Wu and Pei. They have reviewed 3 books in intensive reading course, undergraduate major English in China. So the result of their findings show that there were 69% textbooks contain lots rather than HOTS. And then number 2, Kesta and Seb, it's coming from Palestine. They conducted the research. Their findings demonstrate that the textbook is shortage of HOTS. In this study, they didn't mention the number of percentage. So they said that the English for Palestine grade 8, that book is still shortage of higher order thinking skills. And then followed by Nina. She has conducted a research entitled Evaluating HOTS in Reading Exercise of EFL Textbook Pathway to English for 10th grade of senior high school. And then the result of her study shows that lots that the books contains more lots than HOTS. Next, for number 4 and until 6, followed by Febrina et al., Nur Prativi and Paradina Ilma. The findings reveal that lots is still more dominant rather than HOTS. So, but for the last one, number 7, it's contrast to the Febrina has had different findings. They found more HOTS than lots in the textbooks materials of Bahasa Inggris SMA SMK MAK grade 11. So from this table, I can conclude that lots still dominate HOTS in the EFL textbook, especially in Indonesia, which we can see the average of percentage. It's shown 73.8% from those book contains lots. Okay, next, the last conclusions. So in this study, I have concluded that for the purpose of improving students' critical thinking, the inclusion of hot textbook is badly needed. So it means that we can see from the data before that the EFL textbook are still low in higher order thinking skills. And then the second one is Indonesian EFL textbook still need to be revised because it's lack of higher order thinking skills. And then suggestions for the teachers. The teachers do not. I mean, they don't have to depend on the question on the textbook itself. They should try to create their own question in the process of teaching and learnings. And next, for the authors, I think if they want to make or create a new textbook, it should be reflect to the current curriculums. And next, the last, for further researchers, I hope they can investigate more about EFL textbooks related to higher order thinking skills. Okay, I think that's all about my presentation today. Thank you very much for your great attention. And then, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Bapak Irnansyah S.Pd, for the presentation that you delivered to us today. And before we continue to the fourth presenter, I would like to remind you again to fill out the attendance list, and also don't forget to fill out the feedback list later on that we are going to share you at the end of this webinar. And now we are going to listen to a presentation by Mr. Iwan Wijaya S.Pd, a presentation entitled Narrative Reading, HOTS-Based Materials. Let me introduce Pak Iwan a little bit. So Pak Iwan is one of the teachers in junior high school number 48 Palembang. So he would like to share you the experiences of how he handled the class, especially for English language class. Pak Iwan Wijaya S.Pd, the Zoom floor is yours.
Thank you very much, moderator. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Can you hear me?
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Yes.
Yes. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my presentation. I'm happy to be here. Today I'm going to talk about narrative reading for business material. I would like to share some thoughts. First, let me share the PowerPoint presentation.
Pak Iwan, we are very sorry. The screen is still blank here.
Okay.
I
Nyimas,
mean, is it still loading with you, or it's
still
just
loading?
our side here?
If it is not possible, can Nyimas share my slide?
Yeah, yeah, we can see it now. We can see it now.
Okay.
Could you please make it into the slideshow mode?
Okay.
All right,
Thank
thank you.
Okay. Narrative reading. I'm going to talk about narrative reading regarding the HOTS material. I am a student of English Education Graduate Study Program, Faculty of Teacher Training and Education, Sriwijaya University. Okay. Let's have a look at the outline. I tried to make an outline. First, the introduction, and then the definition of higher order thinking skills or HOTS, and the importance of higher order thinking skills. Also, why narrative text, and then conclusion and recommendation. Okay. I'd like to talk about the importance of reading ability. A lot of experts mention about the importance of reading ability, and here I just figured out some points. First, from UNESCO, people who often read will be good readers, and good reader will be successful in school and other life. And reading ability, reading comprehension is the ability to understand the text and underline the already reading tasks according to Hans. Okay. The fact that the reading achievement in Indonesia is still low. It is shown by the Indonesian reading achievement according to OECD, Organization for Economic and Development, in 2013. The mean score of reading literacy of Indonesia was 396, while the mean score of participated countries was 496. Okay. Before I talk further, now we take a look what is higher order thinking skills. Some of presenters have talked about higher order thinking skills. Is that summary? HOTS are the ability to think that not only requires the ability to remember, but also higher capabilities. That's according to Kings. And HOTS is also a perplexing term and can be described as the use of critical and creative thinking so that one can solve difficult problems. As the previous presenters talked, that nowadays higher order thinking skills have become a major theme in education, particularly among adult learners. But it doesn't mean that for the young learners, as it is considered as an important medium to survive the information global world. As we can read on the slide, one of from Zohar and Kohan and many experts. And in Indonesia, the Indonesian 2013 curriculum emphasis has been placed on building competencies required for the 21st century. Okay, we go on. Formally, Bloom's proposed the taxonomy. There are C1 from C1 to C6. And there is a revision from Anderson. Anderson here used the verb version, while the Bloom used the noun one. There are changes for the 5th and the 6th level. Here Anderson used evaluating for the 5th stage or 5th level, and the top level is creating, while Bloom the fifth level was synthesis, and the sixth one is evaluation. There are a lot of important HOTS. This is one of the examples. HOTS allows someone to apply new knowledge and information in order to be able to respond in a new condition. So if our students are learned or trained to develop their thinking skill, they will use their skill in their true life, maybe 3 years or 6 years later. Okay. This is the dimension of how, first of all, it will be fruitful for the teachers and researchers. The knowledge to teach thinking is summarized into knowledge element of thinking together with the four categories here. The first is knowledge of individual thinking strategies. What is it? This is the making comparison. So we facilitate our students to make comparison and formulating justify argument. So they can make an argument. They don't only receive or accept about one statement. This is the benefit of the HOTS. We train our students to have critical thinking. Here at they can draw valid conclusion. By drawing valid conclusion in our life, we all face the condition that force us to make a quick and valid decision. And the second one is knowledge of genre thinking. It is the argumentation and inquiry learning in thinking and creative thinking and etc. The other one is knowledge of metacognition. This is the thinking of own thinking. So the reason why we make this, we think this is the background of our talk. And the last dimension is the knowledge of additional issues, thinking disposition, habit, mind, culture of thinking, etc. by Zohar. Okay, we continue the components of HOTS. Many experts have defined or have mentioned about the component of HOTS. Here, just try to compile two of the experts. The first one is critical system and creative thinking by Byram and David and Uri. And then critical thinking skill, thinking design, and system thinking, Wang and Wang. Okay, since the topic today related to narrative text, I make a review about narrative text. I do believe that all of the teachers know what is narrative text. This is just to press upon our memory. Narrative text is a piece of text to tell a story, and in doing so, entertains or informs the reader or listener. That's according to Anderson and Anderson. And the other textbook also talk about narrative. Narrative does not have a single generic purpose, as do some of other genres. Narrative is not simply about entertaining a reading audience. It has a powerful social role beyond that of being a medium for entertainment. It is a powerful medium for changing social opinions and attitudes. Narrative is a big and macro genre in that it can easily accommodate one or more of the other genres and still remain dominant. This is the opinion of Matt and we can find narrative text in our daily life, both informal and informal setting. In informal setting, we find in academic writing, and for our informal setting, we always found it in oral narrative. Someone talk about a story, and maybe we talk a story to our family, our parents, our children. And As the purpose of narrative text, the purpose is to entertain or to amuse the readers or the listeners. And the most important thing that narrative has more value or wisdom. After reading a narrative text, we not only learn about the language, about the linguistic features, but also we get something that is a more value. For example, when we read about Maling Kundang, we know the story, and this is a moral value that as children we must love our parents. We must respect our parents. And in narrative text, furthermore, teacher can apply HOTS. Since HOTS ranging from C4 to C6, and they are analyzing level, or the top level is reading. Students are to analyze the narrative text, then they evaluate the narrative text. And at the end, students will tell a story by their own words. Teacher can also assign students to make their own narrative text, whether they do it in a group or individually. Okay, this is the generic structure. I do believe we know this one. The first is orientation. What is orientation? It is set the scene and introduce the participant. And then the evaluation. The next one is complication. All stories have the complication. This is the crisis arises. And then the resolution. The crisis is resolved for better or for the worse. I do believe we like the happy ending one. And then reorientation. Yes?
Iwan, sorry for interrupting. We have 5 more minutes for the presentation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. This orientation is optional. We can make a orientation of a narrative record now. Okay, language feature. I do understand that we know this. Narrative text use past tense, action verbs like conjunct and connectives like such as soon, next. Okay, I try to make conclusion. I do believe I still need the participant opinions and sharing expertise to me about what is narrative furthermore. The conclusion is, sorry. And it says we use narrative text, but there are many kind of reading material that can develop the student to think critically. And a recommendation for teacher, this is the teacher can develop thought-based reading material. According to Margana and Widiantara, there is a brief article report that professional development aiming at developing English textbook oriented to higher order taking skills for students of Kesana High School in Jakarta. Drawing on questionnaire distribution, interviews, and documentation data, the findings show that English textbooks should be developed under the issue of HOTS enhancement on the grounds that HOTS could facilitate students of professional high school to maximally acquire the target language, in this case, in English. Yes, I enclose some of the references. Hopefully, it will be useful for further research. Okay, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. This is the end of my presentation. Hope this is very useful for us and especially for me. You can contact me at my email here. Okay. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Bapak Iwan Wijaya S.Pd, for the fruitful presentation. We are looking forward to having you on the Q&A session after this.
Okay.
So we are going to have one more presenter in today's webinar. And again, I would like to remind all the attendees that at the end of the presentation, at the end of this webinar, we are going to share you the link of feedback, and you are going to fill it out in order to get the certificate for today's webinar. And now I would like to welcome Ms. Fuji Oktaviani, S.Pd, with the presentation entitled Critical Literacy in EFL Classroom, How is it implemented? To Ms. Fuji Oktaviani, S.Pd, the Zoom floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Rizky. Can you hear my voice? Rizky?
Yes, Ms.
Yes.
Fuji, we can hear your voice. You may
Okay.
continue, Ms. Fuji.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thanks so much
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
for giving me a chance to share my topic today. First of all, let me share you my screen. My topic is about critical literacy in EFL classroom. How is it implemented? And here are the outlines. First is the introduction, and then the second is what is critical literacy. The third one is facts about the students' literacy skill in Indonesia, and then problems find out on the implementation of critical literacy, the importance of critical literacy, and the last one is conclusion. Okay. In the rapid development of the technology in the 21st century, it caused an unlimited access to information all around the world. As we know that we live in the rapid development of the technology in this 21st century, where the information spread quickly through social media such as WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and then also a search engine like Google. This kind of development requires society to be more active and reactive to respond the information critically, according to Anwas. Why critically? It's because the existence of spam news, hoax, or fake news where it forced us as the society to be more active and reactive, and also to be critical to every information that we get from every source. Then, what is critical literacy? According to UNESCO in 2004 and 2017, literacy is the ability to identify, understand, interpret, create, communicate, and compute using printed and written materials associated with varying contexts, and enabling individuals to achieve their goals, to develop their knowledge and potential to participate fully in their community and wider society. It means that we are who live in the 21st century era are asking to be able to identify, understand, create, communicate, and then communicate in both printed and written materials. So we can develop our knowledge to face the 21st century challenges. It also demands us how to interact and how to handle with the information which available in the variety of modes. Next. From the explanation above, Freire defines that critical literacy views reader as active participants in the reading process and invites them to move beyond passively accepting the text message to question, examine, or dispute the power relations that exist between readers and authors. Here, Freire tried to explain us that critical literacy involved the students to accept multiple perspectives and possibilities to contribute and to learning to position themselves as an active and reflective readers and writers, and also involve them to look at an issue in different ways and suggesting possibilities for change and improvement. Okay. Concerning to the importance of critical literacy in the 21st century education, Indonesian government tried to put the term critical literacy into our curriculum. In the English 2013 curriculum, our government put a strong emphasis on the development of the students' competencies to think reflectively, to solve social problems, and emphasis on the importance of higher order thinking skills, which overlap to some extent with critical literacy education, according to Permendikbud number 67. Okay, what are the facts? According to the study that is conducted by Central Connecticut State University in the United States, students' literacy ability in Indonesia is in the second worst compared to the world's 61 most literate nations, according to jakartapost.com. And then, according to Compass.com, students also find difficulties in answering the higher order thinking skills question in the 2018 national exam since they did not have any appropriate critical literacy ability. And then, according to PISA, in 2015, it is reported that Indonesia was in 64th rank out of 72. It means that Indonesian students' ability is still considered as low level, where Indonesia is still at level 2. Level 2 here means that our students only able to get the main idea of the passage, to understand the relationship, and to construct meaning for making inferences, but they get some difficulties in reveal information, to develop and integrate interpretation, or to reflect and evaluate the complex text. It means that it reflects that the students of Indonesia need to be helped to develop their critical literacy both in the first and foreign language context. How could it happen? Concerning to the problems before, some researchers try to find out the reason why this situation could happen. According to Kim, in his study, teachers have a lack of understanding of the urgency of critical literacy. And Kim also noticed that even though teachers are trying to adopt critical literacy into their programs, they still have insufficient knowledge and skills about how to implement it in their EFL classroom. And then Hussein also found in her study that even though teachers have had about 7 years teaching experience, 7 years teaching English experience in different levels of schools, some teachers still display an absence of knowledge on critical literacy as a practical approach for English teaching. And then Gustin also found in her study that many teachers are not familiar with the term of critical literacy, and some of them get confused with the differences between critical literacy and critical thinking, and other 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 terms coupled with the word critical, such as critical reading and critical writing. And then Shore called the situation as not having enough authority, which refers to lack capability of the teachers to initiate a critical and power sharing process. Okay. What should EFL teachers do to help the students to increase their critical literacy ability and put the framework of the critical literacy into their EFL classroom practice? Here is the 4 division of critical literacy proposed by Levinson et al. This framework proposed by Levinson et al. And these dimensions help the teachers to organize what their students should go in the teaching and learning process. There are 4 dimensions from Levinson. The first is disrupting the commonplace, interrogating multiple viewpoints, focusing on socio-political issues, and taking action and promoting social justice. Disrupting the commonplace here means that critical literacy is understood as perceived routines into new point of view. So here the students will be invited to problemize and interrogate the text, and also examining how text profile its identity. And then the second one is interrogating multiple viewpoints. It means that the students are asked to see experiences experiences of the facts from their own perspective and others' perspectives. The third is focusing on socio-political issues. It means that the students are invited to go beyond their personal life, to go further towards socio-political system where we live, to challenge the status by analyzing the connection between power and the language, and then to be literate when they are engaged in the political issues they found in their daily life. And then the last one is taking action and promoting social justice. It means that the students will get engaged in reflecting, acting towards their environment, where they examine the language and redefining and challenging to cross the borders of the cultures to create borders of cultural source. Next, why critical literacy is important. According to Rajendran and Idris, students who were taught how to develop creative insight to solving problems were better suited for more complex problem solving than to those who were not. And then the implementation of critical literacy into the classroom will aid the students and the teacher to enlarge their thought and find out multiple perspectives and grow into active thinkers. And then especially to understand and manage the connection between language and the power. In other words, critical literacy enables the students to carry their personal experiences into discussions, giving them chances to participate and involving them into higher reading levels and discussion, and to comprehend the authority of the language. Okay, now we come to the last part of this topic. Here is the conclusion of my topic. So based on the discussion before, we can conclude that critical literacy enables students to be active subjects rather than passive object toward their learning process. And then teachers should choose the appropriate learning activities which could involve students to do exploration in multiple perspectives. The implementation of critical literacy is promising such a benefit, but it is needed to give lots attention to some challenges coming from the condition of the teachers. And then finally, teachers should acknowledge the emergence of critical literacy concept and practical issues. Okay, I think that's all. I'll give it back to the moderator. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Ms. Fuji Oktaviani, S.Pd, for delivering such a great presentation this afternoon. And now I would like to invite all the presenters, all the panelists to be back with us here in Zoom. And now we are ready to be in the question and answer session. To the committee, please share the questions that have been selected to our presenters today. Thank you, Ms. Umi Wahyuni. The first question is addressed to Ms. Nyimas Larasati Utami, S.Pd, from Ms. Rindu Handayani, Muhammadiyah University, Bangka Belitung. Welcome to Bangka Belitung. The first question is, could you please share the examples of HOTS-based questions in EFL classrooms with, sorry, I cannot see that, without giving them hard questions? To Ms. Nyimas Larasati Utami, please.
All right. Thank you very much to Ms. Rindu Handayani from Universitas Muhammadiyah Bangka Belitung. I'd like to answer the first question, the example of hot-based questions without giving them hard questions. And like I said before, there are 3 higher order thinking skills, which are analyzing, evaluating, and creating. So the first one, for analyzing, you can give them questions like the main idea. By that questions, main idea of a passage, you can just give them a short passage and ask them what they think about the idea of the story. It will encourage them to think about the existing characteristic in the story, in the passage, and then the setting or the plot. And by that information, by gathering those information, they'll create a way of how to address the main idea that can represent the whole passage. And then for the evaluating skill, you can ask them to, for example, there is a story, or let's say a story, and one of them giving the opinion about the story. Someone is giving an opinion about the story, and ask the students to what they think about the opinion that is given by that person. By judging the other's opinion, it means they are also evaluating all the aspects that is contained in the opinions given by the person. For the creating, you can just give them the questions like giving a very short story and tell them to create the ending for that story. So it will let the students to think creatively about what aspects needed for the ending of that story, considering the plot, the setting, and also the characters in the given story. Okay, that's for the examples of HOTS-based questions. And then for the second question, HOTS is not about having difficult questions, but how, sorry, I can't say it clearly, but how the questions could criticize students' critical thinking skills. Do you agree with this? Yes, I agree. So these HOTS-based questions is not always about having difficult, addressing of difficult questions, but this, just like the last example I gave you about creating, it just it lets the students think creatively. It's not they are given the freedom to decide the ending of a story. So it's not about difficult questions, but about how you can include all the information given to create something new. I hope this answers your question. Thank you very much to Ms. Rindu Handayani for the question.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nyimas. Hope those answers will answer the question from Ms. Rindu Handayani, University Muhammadiyah Bangka Belitung. Before we come to the second question, I would like to inform all the participants, all the attendees, we are going to share you the materials, the PowerPoint slides to your email together with the certificate. And also we are going to post it in our Telegram account, and also we are going to share it, to post it also in the SRS-TEFLIN website. Now we can see the second question. The second question is from Ms. Armiati, Al-Qudwah Islamic Boarding School, and it is addressed to Ms. Fransiska Ika, S.Pd. And the question is, Indonesian National Students Book is not representative enough since there are lack of native culture content. I would like to hear your opinion about this statement. To Ms. Fransiska Ika, time is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Armiati, for the questions. Yes, I do have the same opinion with you that the Indonesian National Book, especially the one that published by the Ministry of Education, is a lack of the presence of the target or international culture, which is, we know that it is needed as a media of the others in reaching or in achieving the intercultural communicative competence. Sometimes Coursebook is a hidden curriculum. In this case, the book, we can say that the book have a certain agenda in relation to the curriculum of 2013. The government has the agenda to strengthen the character education. and this agenda can be carried out through the content of the books. So, in relation to the we as a teacher, we cannot rely fully on the course book if we plan to integrate the ICC on our classroom. In this case, we as a teacher have to be creative. We can redesigning the books or replanning the activities that we can involve the students to reach the ICC. For example, like this. This is my experience when I teaching descriptive text related to places to my students. Since the books just give the learning activities to describe a place related to their neighborhood, we can ask the students to do Googling, browsing, and describe certain places all over the world. So in this case, we ask the students to be a student ethnographers. So this is one of the strategy. I hope this answers your questions, Ms. Armiati. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fransiska Ika, for answering the questions. And now we are going to have the third question. This question is addressed to Ms. Fatimah Tuzahra, S.Pd. from Dame Inawati Tampu Bolon. And the question is how we can get the indicators of online sources credibility evaluation, and could you give me the example of web search of reading online and which one you recommend us? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the question. Well, actually, what I meant by reading online is that when we are reading online, for example, like news, it means that we conducting reading online actually, yeah. Now, how can we get the indicators of online source credibility evaluation? Well, to answer the questions, I can give you some. I will show you share screen, yeah, about online source credibility evaluation rubric. So you can do the evaluation by using this rubric as your one of the as one of your reference, yeah, when conducting the evaluation. Okay. Okay, moderator, can I share the share screen?
Yes, sure.
Just to show him. Okay. Like this. This is it will be some of the reference, but actually there are many kinds. Okay, technology credibility rubrics actually to when we are want to evaluate. Okay. Yeah. This covers the criteria reference sources, public or mentions, credentials, criteria, objectivity, as well as representations. But some of but there also on the internet which covers 5 things. Yeah, for example, like trustworthiness, organizations. Okay, you can pick which one that suits you based on your need actually. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fatimah Tuzahra, for answering the question. And we are going to see the next question. Next question, please. All right, we have the next question. How to improve students' hot skills for a teacher? And are there any tips for a teacher to improve it? And this question is addressed to Mr. Irnansyah.
Well, thank you very much for the questions. How to improve the students' skills related to HOTS?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I think in my opinions, both of students and teachers, they should familiar with the HOTS based question itself. For the teachers, they should try to modify the HOTS questions in the textbooks. As I uh, mentioned before in the presentation, that EFL textbooks in Indonesia, it's still lack of higher order thinking skills based questions. So it means that for the teacher, they must modify the questions to for the students, and then for the students, try to do more exercise or practice related to higher order thinking skills or HOTS. By doing those things, I think it will improve their skills related to higher order thinking skills. Okay, I think that's all.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Irnansyah. Hope the answer will answer your question. And the next one, we are going to have one question addressed to Miss Fuji from Gayareni. So the question is, I would like to ask you related to your presentation. My question is, how do EFL teachers grow the students' interest in reading the text in English? As we know that English is not our first language like in other countries. Thank you. To Miss Fuji Oktaviani, please.
Okay, I will try to answer the question from Miss Gayareni. I think it is also depends on the teacher, yeah, the teacher strategies. Here, the teachers have to find out the method or the learning strategies which can make their students eager to read, and it must be suitable, of course, to their students' ability. Suitable here means that the teacher shouldn't give too easy or too hard materials for their students, or for example, teachers can start by giving simple texts which relate to their students' favorite topics. Like nowadays, Korean wave is very popular. Maybe the teacher can start with it. Then later, as the time goes by, the students will accustom to read and read, so it can increase their interest in reading. I think that's all.
Okay, thank you, Miss Fuji Oktaviani, for answering the question. And we have the next question addressed to Mr. Iwan Wijaya from Dame Inawati Tampu Bolon from Universal School Jakarta. The question is, did you know the library building in Jakarta is the most beautiful and the highest building in the world? Indonesia has Ipurnas application to reach millennials using this platform. And why do you have an opinion that Indonesian people reader achievement is low? Please give the fixed explanation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to Bu or Miss Demi or Mr. Demi for the question. Well, this is not my personal opinion actually, based on the research conducted by OECD in 2013 that the reading achievement in Indonesia is still low. When we talk about the data, we don't talk about our personal interests or our personal opinions. And hopefully by the facilities provided by our government, just like in Jakarta, the reading achievement can increase in the future. And meanwhile, not all of the parts of Indonesia has the facilities. Uh, for example, for the remote areas, for 3T areas like in NTT, maybe they don't have connection with the internet. So when we talk about the data, we try to understand it academically, and this is our responsibility as educators, as teachers, how to cope with that matters, how to cope with the with numbers, with the findings, and this is our homework, and we try our best to give our student learning experience for their future life. I think that's all.
Thank you, Mr. Iwan Wijaya, for giving the explanation. Unfortunately, we are going to close this webinar since there is no more question also. And I would like to remind all the participants, all the attendees to fill out the exit ticket link or the feedback link in order to get the certificate for today's webinar. And I'm very grateful for all the participants who joined this webinar today. Thank you also to all the presenters, Ms. Nyimas Larasati Utami, Ms. Fransiska Ika, Mr. Irnansyah, Mr. Iwan Wijaya, Ms. Fuji Oktaviani, and Ms. Fatimah Tuzahra to deliver great presentations from you all. We really get new insights and knowledge from what you explained today, and it can be useful for our language class next time.
Thank
And
you.
I'm going to close this presentation, and let me welcome Mr. Wahyudi again to take over the activity. Thank you very much. Good afternoon.
Okay, good afternoon. Thank you very much, our moderator, Rizky Agini Hafiza, S.Pd, on all of the presenters today, Nyimas Larasati Utami, S.Pd, Fransiska Ika, S.Pd, Fatimah Tuzahra, S.Pd, Iwan Wijaya, S.Pd, Irnansyah, S.Pd, and Fuji Oktaviani, S.Pd. All is very worth discussions. All right, before I close this webinar today, I'd like to invite all the participants, without exception, to turn on your video to take the pictures of this togetherness. Again, I'd like to invite all the participants who have already joined us today, without exception, to turn on your video, please, to take the pictures with us in this chant. Maybe ICT team can help for taking the picture. All right, thank you very much. Okay.
For those who have been promoted into the panelists, we hope you can turn on your camera so we can take the picture together.
All right.
Please be waiting. We still have 71 more attendees to be promoted.
Okay. So maybe the ICT team is able to take the photo. Let's give your best smile. Okay, one more time maybe.
I think Mr. Wahyudi can help to give the counting.
Number. Oh, okay. So all right. So I count from number 1 to number 3. 1, 2. Please smile. 3. Okay. All right. I think that's enough. Thank you very much for all the participants today. Well, sadly, we have come to the end of today's webinar, but don't worry, we still have more webinars coming on the following months. Again, you are all invited to participate in our upcoming webinars. The information of our webinar is in our social media pages. Therefore, make sure you are following our Facebook and Instagram account at SRS-TEFLIN official, or our Telegram channel in SRS-TEFLIN official. And don't forget to like and subscribe our YouTube channel at SRS-TEFLIN channel to keep yourself updated about our next event. So this is the end of our webinar series. I'm Muhammad Wahyudi. Thank you so much for all your attention and your time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, Ibu.
Thank you.
Bapak.
Thank you, everyone.
all guys.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Ya, ini akan segera ada yang workshop. Insya Allah.
Amin, amin.
Ya, siap-siap saja ini guru-guru. Ini sudah ada yang bersedia itu dari Bandung untuk ikut berpartisipasi di workshopnya kita.
Bu Huzai, Bu,
Ya,
can I have a word later only with the students after this?
Yeah,
Before it is,
sure.
yeah, together with
Silakan,
you and Bu Sari as well, actually.
Oke, ya.
Yes, Pak. We are still working on it.
Yeah, related to your subject, yeah.
Yes, Pak.
You need to do dealing with the research proposal. Okay. We still have participants here.
Wait dulu ya Bu ya, Pak Sony, Sari. Thank you very much.
We are
Thank
working
you.
on
Terima
removing
kasih,
Nyimas, semuanya, congratulations for the
Thank you,
successful
Ibu.
Mem
webinar.
Tanti,
Thank you very much.
Terima kasih, Tanti.
Oke, sukses selalu ya.
Amin, amin.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Mi, matikan dulu Mi YouTube.
Iya.
Masuk YouTube nih, Mas.